Good morning and welcome to this Automation Academy Mastering the Machine webinar for the 24th of May 2024. Our topic today was OT SCADA CON, a conference that's going to be happening in Houston at the end of July, and we had several guests on to talk about this, and hope you enjoy it. Good morning, folks, and welcome to this, the 74th Mastering the Machine webinar, sponsored by Automation NTH and the Automation Academy. And today's subject is OT SCADA CON, which is a conference that's going to be going on in Houston, Texas on July the 25th and 26th. That is a couple months from now at this point. There should be a bunch of people joining us that are going to be speakers and people involved with holding this event. But before we get into that, let's do the basics here. What is the Automation Academy? This is a website that I started about 3.5 years ago, and I host training videos for Allen Bradley, Siemens, Beckhoff, and Omron. Have some job assistance on there, most of it coming from the Ken Coleman program. Lots of systems integration stuff. There's a library there. We have a community, IO Central, not widely used, but there for the use of anybody who wants to join, even if you are not a member of the Automation Academy. And we do have these regular events. They are less regular lately. They are about once a month instead of once every 2 weeks like we used to do them. But today's a pretty exciting event, so hoping to get lots of involvement there. If you want to find any of these resources, you can join the Academy at automationllc.com/academy. You can join IO Central at community.automationllc.com. You can check out my blog at automationprimer.com or lots of other stuff on the website. One of the things that I've been featuring lately is that it is not just all about PLCs. Of course, there's lots of folks doing PLC training, and this kind of relates to what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be having lots of different subjects going on during OT SCADA CON. People are speaking on a lot of different events, and so I kind of put this together during the last Mastering the Machine workshops, which we had here in January. We had about 4 or 5 people attend those. That was a 2-week program. It's going to be a 1-week program from here on out. We'll probably be holding the next one in September. But lots of different subjects that you need to study to be a well-rounded systems integrator. So that's where I kind of put this together. So without any further ado, let's move on to the subject at hand. Isn't this a cool cat picture? That's a pretty spacey looking cat. In any case, this is OT SCADA CON is an industrial control systems conference being held in Houston. Somebody posted today, I think it was one of the fellows on here today, are we crazy for going to Houston in July? It is. I've been there a bunch. I teach classes down there, and it is really, really hot and muggy, but we'll be indoors. So I'm not going to be doing an outdoor conference or anything. And we'll be doing most of our extracurricular events, I'm sure, in the evening times. Some of the speakers and things, this is the current agenda, lots of different speakers. You notice that I'm kind of right there in the beginning, and that's a good subject for me. IO types, we'll be talking about all kinds of devices and things that you already know, but maybe I'll surprise you some things that you don't know. I'm not sure what Surprise Deluxe is, so we're going to find that out today also, because that's mentioned a couple times here. And then lots of other folks, kind of well-known folks on LinkedIn and other automation forums, a lot of people speaking on a lot of different subjects. So this is going to be a really educational conference, kind of quick and to the point, right? So we do a half-hour presentation, and then maybe we can leave a few minutes for questions, but it's going to be pretty frantic there. Lots and lots of material to digest for folks. I see Ali G is on here, and Highlander. I'm not even sure. I see Highlander a lot, but I'm not sure which person it is on this list, but I believe he is also making a presentation. And then day 2, we have lots of these folks doing their things. And notice there are things like some controls and caviar happy hour, and some, as people call it, karaoke. My wife would jump on that. She's from Japan, and she says, it's karaoke. Why do people call it karaoke? That's not how it's pronounced in any case. But anyway, that's what it's all about. And we've got a couple people on here, including one of the organizers of the event, one of the automation ladies, Allie G, is here today. So how you doing, Allie?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. It's kind of stormy out here in Nashville, but hopefully it's a little better where you're at.
No, it's Seattle, so it's always raining, and right now I can't see the sun. I can see that it's daylight out though, but it's gray.
Yeah, it's a little earlier there too. So tell
Yeah, it's
us
7.
about OT SCADA CON and what made you guys come up with this idea.
So it's definitely highly influenced by trace route con or trace route con. I never could figure out how to say trace route. He says it's okay as long as you don't say tracer route or tracer route, where you like double say the R. But so Josh Varghese has a company where he helps, integrators or end users with, industrial networking. So networking, the devices that we're used to. So PLCs, VFDs, switches, just like a bunch of communications, I guess also to SCADA servers. So maybe a SCADA server and all of these, clusters of OT devices. He's amazing at networking those devices. And he spent, he used to do programming, but he, went into this because that was his passion. And so he created a 2-day class, and I was just like, wow, that's amazing. I watched, his first room that he filled where it was like open, because I think normally he does that training for individual like companies. And so he'll bring in their people, or he'll go to them and do this training. And but one of the things, obviously right away I was like, I love a lot of things about this training. And then there's some things that like I would not be able to do, like talk for 2 days straight. Even though I have 2 days worth of things to say, like I know that I would exhaust myself to a point where I would never do an event like this again. And so I was like, I'm going to use what I know about my own, like ADD or ADHD, and use that to like kind of create an event that more people could be involved in, and it could just be wider, but still have the same like network feel and keep it. I mean, at first, Nikki had to dial me back because I was trying to just go as big as possible. And she's just like brought to my attention that that's actually like part of what we liked about TraceRouteCon was that like it was smaller. And so during lunchtime and stuff, like you could really talk to other people that know exactly what you're talking about. And then the people that don't like were really open to either asking questions, and then other people were really open to sharing. And so that type of like exchange can be invaluable to people's careers. And yeah, so I guess we were inspired by that. And so I went to Nikki and I was like, I want to do this. And so I kind of wrote it all down on a piece of paper. And that's the first, I think, we used to have 24 sections or 23 sections, and now it's 26 sections. But originally it was a 23 section thing. And yeah, I wrote it all down, and they're like, you're insane, you'll never do it. And then once I start advertising something, that's when it becomes real. And so I went on, because I have Canva now, and I know the story of like how Nikki kind of just like threw together the Automation Ladies not the podcast, the logo. She did also throw together the podcast, but she threw together the logo on Canva. So I just went on Canva, and like, if you are a normal Canva user, you may recognize that cat. Because it was just something I pulled like straight off of Canva. But what I'm thinking, just this is side note about the cat. People keep asking like, where is it going to be, like, who's going to speak, or when does the cat speak? And I don't know if you play or have done any what is it called? Like paintball. but there's like helmets. So you can get tactical helmets. I'm going to get a purple tactical helmet that has like covers your face too. And like, you know, get some glasses and like I can do ears on this tactical helmet that are purple. So like, I don't know. We're going to figure something out. That probably is related to this Surprise Deluxe. Surprise Deluxe is a ongoing idea where we're not sure what we're going to do, but it's going to be I mean, now we've built it up, so it has to be something cool. It originally just meant like more than one person and we don't know which one, but now I don't know, we're going to see how that looks because it means it's kind of a free for all and that there may be more than one speaker slash speakers that tag team that. But yeah, so that's what that's how it came to be. And I kind of just started adding people that I knew into the group. Well, I was asking them individually, and then I think Brandon Peters, he's from Canada, and he was like, "Why don't we have a WhatsApp group?" And I was like, "That's a good idea," because like Josh Varghese likes to do WhatsApp groups. So I was like, well, I know Josh could be on there, so I don't know if everyone has WhatsApp, but it turns out almost everyone already has WhatsApp. Maybe like 2 people had to get WhatsApp or had to be forced to turn their WhatsApp back on. But like most people already have WhatsApp because it's just a really common way to talk to people outside of the country. Because everyone outside the US has WhatsApp. So if you have any relatives outside or friends or whatever outside of the US, you probably already have WhatsApp. And so PCE already works with you know, Liza in the Philippines and Miriam sometimes in Nigeria, sometimes she's in Rwanda, but like we work with people outside the US, and so we do use WhatsApp anyway for our group. So we started this WhatsApp chat that has all the OT SCADA CON speakers, and more recently, since we added Frank and Greg and Alicia Lomas, we started a new one that's called the same thing but just says "Oh my God" in the front, or OMG in the front. But it's been really interesting just because the speakers are so diverse, and yeah, everyone's just kind of like started bonding. So I think it's going to be really cool to showcase that. We're actually going to Airbnb like 2 different houses for the speakers, so the speakers can stay together if they want. Yeah, but I think that that's going to come out to like the audience, that like we're not just like, hey, it's your turn, do the thing. Like we actually know each other. And for the last, I guess, 3 months before, you know, this event goes on, we've just been communicating like daily. Some of us daily, some of us like have muted the conversation because it's way too much information. But like everyone has got to kind of know each other. And you know, people pop in at different frequencies. Like there's some people that are constantly in that chat. Speakers that are, yeah, they like to, you know, chat more than other people do. And then there's some people that just kind of drop in periodically just to say something or just to like react to like how insane the chat is, because it is kind of out of control. But like that's because we are out of control type of people, right? Like people in controls and automation are not normal anyway. And not that like we were trying to say that we were, but yeah, this group is eclectic, I think, is to say the PC way to say this. But yeah, I think it's really fun. I've already made friends with or got to know people that I didn't know as well. And now we're gonna actually spend some time like in the insane heat. Maybe we'll have some mental breakdowns. Like I think this is really normal, like healthy human interaction stuff. And like I think it's gonna be a really amazing networking event. And I think everyone is going to learn something, because what you're going to learn is who to come talk to about the different topics. And you're going to have like kind of like a little printout with like real, like valuable, like tips and tricks from people who have been doing this for, you know, 10 plus years. In some cases, 20, 30 years, they've been doing some of this stuff. And so, you know, you're getting a concentration of like passion, information, like real industry knowledge. And I mean, I don't know what's better than those two, because like we as controls people or automation people, whether you're a technician or, I mean, even if you're just in sales in this industry, like nobody knows what the hell that you're talking about. So this is the only way that people like us can really bond with other people who know what the hell we're talking about, because the rest of the world does not really know. And the more that we talk about it and like kind of show it off to each other and to like the small circles that are willing to watch, the more it can grow. And that's kind of what we want, because we are too small and we need way more people. And so yeah, it kind of just kills two birds with one stone. And that's what that is.
Okay, well, I appreciate you also pointing out where this cat came from, because I've heard of Canva, but have never seen that cat. But
Okay.
pretty cool logo, and I guess we've got some colors for it. And I did find out on the WhatsApp group that I was the honorary old guy. As far as I can tell, I'll be the oldest presenter there. So I've got that at least.
Oh my God.
I think at this point, what I'm going to do is go ahead and just open this up to any comments, questions, any of that kind of stuff. I'm going to stop the sharing and just kind of let folks talk here. Anybody else have anything they want to mention about something they're doing, or OT SCADA CON itself, or what's up with everybody?
Are we supposed to be able to see everybody else?
I think so. Can you see?
I can't see anybody.
You can't see.
I can see Brandon, you, and Frank.
I can't see any. Oh, well, now I can see. Now I can see the Highlander. Hi.
Yeah. Well, Frank, I
I'm
just
in the
wanted
car, which is why mine's off.
Oh. Well, Frank,
Now I can see everybody.
I wanted to thank Frank for joining the group. I was the oldest guy, so I feel much
Are you
better
the one
now.
who made it like obvious? Like, because I don't remember having a conversation about calling Frank old.
Somebody called me a boomer.
Well,
Hey, boomer.
but yeah, I think that was
probably
me.
Juan.
How dare we?
But I was thanking you because all these millennials were making me feel old.
Well, are you Gen X? Like, what are you?
Yes, a Gen X.
Oh, we have summoned Gen X into the group. What have we done?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was the first problem. Yeah.
But yeah, I'd made a comment about, I don't remember what, a project or something I'd done, and I don't remember what year it was, but Caleb had said he was only 8 years old then.
Wait, Caleb said that?
Yeah, it was, or I don't remember even what year I was
Caleb
talking
is a
about.
baby, first of all. Well, he's not a baby, but he is very young. And he
Yeah.
might be one of the youngest in our group. Yeah. He's
Yeah.
one of the youngest business owners that I know. Him and Brendan Duger are two of the youngest business owners. Like, they're not 30 years old. I'm like, oh yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah, Brandon. I forgot Brandon. I didn't know Brandon was like sneaking in there and is super young. Mr. 1995.
It's all good. It's the gray hairs and the beard that mess it up for me. I look like an old man if I let it grow out. So I'd say that's probably the 4 kids that plays its toll on my
Is it 4 kids? And Caleb has
Yeah.
3.
yeah.
You guys are doing it right. Damn.
Yeah.
Are y'all going to have some more? Because that's not very many.
No, we're done.
How many do you have, Scott?
Well, I got 5, and I'm probably 10 years or more older than Brandon, but look, I got no gray hairs.
It's
I
hereditary.
had one this morning. I pulled it out.
Do you dye it? Oh, okay. I have tons of gray
No.
hair and I'm 36.
Now, my dad had
0 children.
he never had to color his hair until he was gone. I mean, it turned gray the last couple of years. That was it. And
That's
he had
kind of cool.
color.
That's good genetics.
So I'm hoping, and it looks like I might have got that.
Yeah.
Yeah, my dad
Okay.
was silver by the time he was 32. So
Ooh.
we're probably well on our way there. So
Yeah, I found that hats help just hide your whole whatever's going on up there.
I have
So-
no gray hairs on the head, just the facial hair. That's it.
And like you don't even have to comb your hair. I think that's what you guys like half of the time do is like you don't comb your hair. You're just like put your hat on. Oh yeah, yours looks like you combed it. Well, I've decided that I don't need to comb my hair either because I have enough hats.
That's too awesome. Yeah.
Frank didn't comb his hair this morning, did you, Frank?
I didn't. And speaking of dads, my dad was completely bald at 24, so I'm doing okay. You know, still got a little bit left.
So, what do you guys think? So Nikki has this book. It's called. It's like I don't remember what it's called, but it's like a book about how to hold a party, a professional party, like not on the weekend, like during people's like work times, like you're not trying to get into their personal like time. So like this is kind of that, like this OT SCADA CON that we're doing is kind of like that, even though we're like mixing in a lot of like, I don't know, friendship and like other social things that aren't just like, you know, part of a trade show. And this isn't like everyone trying to sell you the whole time either, because that's part of the trade show too, is like you're gonna have a salespeople or multiple salespeople, like, you know, you have to talk to them, and like that's not the case for this. But anyway, Nikki has this book, and what I'm like thinking about is like, how do you cut people off? Because we only have 30 minutes, right? And like some people are gonna get, you know, into it maybe, and like not all these are professional like speakers. Like, yeah, they're professionals at doing the thing, but not. And that's actually another thing that I think is a selling point, is that like these people are like going to be able to like tell you about how to do the real field stuff, and how to actually implement these projects that you may have questions about. But yeah, so she had the party harmonica, and so she'll like blow on the, you know, play the party harmonica to be like, yo, you're done. Like, we don't got any more time. You literally went over by like, you know, 10 minutes, and that's going to come off of somebody else's somewhere down the line. Unless, yeah, I started thinking about like, am I cutting everyone down to like 25 minutes? And then they have like 5 minutes to just like, you know, do the question section. Like, what are we going to do there? So, I hope no one like takes offense, but like we're probably gonna have some sort of like party harmonica that just says like, okay, guys, like there are other speakers, and we do have to move on to the other stuff, because it's gonna be passionate. I think it's gonna be. We may have to use the party harmonica like 10 times.
Yeah, you just gotta hide random party harmonicas through the room so that it's always
just be like,
No one's even gonna see Albert's thing, because by the time we get there, we'll be so far behind schedule. He's gonna get up, and then everyone's like, "Well, it's time for happy hour," so we're out.
Well, and that's the other thing is like, when do we start serving? Because it is Texas, so like you're allowed to start serving at like 10 a.m. I think. No, just kidding. So yeah, I don't know how that's gonna go.
I think part of presenting is you get used to managing your time, and I'm sure everybody that's in this has made some kind of presentation before. So
that's true.
We should be.
And I would like to do like a dry run, even if it's like, I don't know how that's gonna go, because we don't have 2 days to just sit there with each other. But we can do like, yeah, parts of, you know, maybe like 1 hour meetings, and like, I don't know. We'll split it up and we'll figure out something so that like we've heard others talk their talk, but we are actually going to read each other's slides. So the speakers do like, and that's kind of cool, is that like the other speakers were part of like checking the speakers, because like a lot of us do have multiple you know, areas that we know, so we can like, you know, and one thing that's really important to me is that like we're not just showcasing one person's experience, we're showcasing experience that is valid for everyone to like use. So like it should just like, it should be specific to you know, things that are usable today. You know, because I do have like, it shows, it's a theory section, and then there's like example sections, hardware, software, and then yeah, like a real example or application. And all of that kind of has to be covered in like 25 minutes. That's why it's, you know, it's very fast, and you will gain some information, but more you're just gaining like who to come get this information from, and maybe getting a taste for topics that you kind of were already interested in, and now you know who to go talk to about them, and you've had your first official like, I guess, introduction to it, especially like because I took a FANUC programming class, and like I had no experience, zero, with motion instructions. And so I didn't understand like any of that and how that, and I thought I was just like really bad at like 3D stuff. And like I took that class and like I understood. And after that, I was like, oh crap, like, you know, yeah, this was a very short class, but like now I can understand the other robots. It doesn't matter if it's FANUC or not. Like I understand, you know, 6-axis arms and yaw pitch roll and all this other crap. And I had no idea any of that stuff. And yeah, I'm an automation engineer, but that doesn't mean that we all know robotics or motion instructions, because there's like entire segments of control. And, you know, I am super process heavy. I try to explain the difference all the time, that, you know, I come from, you know, process engineering and process control. So we have a lot of pipes or ducting. We have a lot of instrumentation that looks a particular way. It doesn't look like your machine IO, like your photo eyes and your proc switches. It looks like, you know, transmitter heads and flow meters and, you know, pressure and temperature and PID loops. There's a lot more of that, even though there is that in motion. But it's totally different. And so like just being able to like show that to like one guest who's probably not been exposed to the rainbow. It's a freaking rainbow, and I want to show the entire automation rainbow in this 2-day thing, so that people can either have slightly more exposure to like stuff that they were already kind of interested in, or have their interest repeat on something that maybe they didn't think about. Because like once you hear about machine vision, like from the camera guy, Greg McIntyre, you may really want to get into camera stuff, and you'll be like, oh, I love like lighting, and or, you know, maybe, I don't know, maybe you'll actually care about server hardware, because Albert will start talking about stuff that like you actually, you know, didn't think about, but like now you know, like a lot of us were kind of shown what a virtual machine is, but not everybody knows that like a lot of that is done with, you know, servers or SCADA servers. And so you may have been a systems integrator that did like PLC HMI stuff, and like, so you were at least taught how to use you know, a virtual machine just for development. But then you realize that like that knowledge actually will help you understand like how to maintain SCADA servers and do like server management, because those are being run on virtual machines a lot of the time, on these big, you know, servers with a whole bunch of virtual machines running on them. And if you don't, you know, if you don't take this class, maybe you didn't know that. And if you do take this class, then you have access to the PLC guys and the HMI guys, and not guys, gals and guys, but and the machinery people and the hardware people and the software people. And it just kind of, yeah, it's all over the place, but it's I think really valuable to have this array. Even though it's super diverse and the speakers are diverse, like I think it's a really, really good I don't know, like, what do you call it? When you just compact everything into one
Condense.
I guess it's a condensed. Oh no, it's like a when you go to it's like a flight. It's an automation flight.
Oh yeah.
Right? Like when you go to the bar and you get like 6 whiskey types. Like this is what we're trying to do, so that people can come in, and like you may not be from the you may just be in sales, and this is still really good for you, no matter what part of automation you're in, because speaking these languages or understanding like how these people do the different works that they do within our industry just helps you do what you do, whatever it is that you do in this industry, because the more that you know how everyone else is doing their job, the bigger picture that you can, you know, form, the more the better you're going to be at your own job, and the more opportunities that you're going to be able to see where other people don't see opportunities. Yeah.
When you look at how short some of these sessions are, but there's also going to be the downtime where there's going to be lots of spin-off conversations on each of these topics, right? And
And even
kinda-
after this, you get to
Yeah.
talk to those people. So you get to spin off forever after this. That's
Yeah.
part of the value of this. Is
and the
like you
nice-
get to talk to Frank Lamb.
And the nice thing about this too is you almost build your full stack of automation this way, right? Like there's so many topics, and it's such a vast range of conversations that we're gonna cover with this. So the people that either need introductory or need introduction into new like industries or technologies, I feel like it's going to be easy for people to have those conversations and become intertwined in that. It's just going to be really easy for people to pick up on new things and make those new connections so that they can kind of continue on with their path of discovery, or whether it's just they're coming to network, right? So I think that it'll be really beneficial for people. And keeping with like the 25-minute time slots, it's going to be tough because like you look at day 2 and it's like Albert and myself were talking about virtualization, and I mean, you can't cover it all in 25 minutes, but I feel like it'll give you a pretty good taste of what everything that you would need in order to do that, and the tools and different platforms that you can use, right? So there's a whole plethora of topics and knowledge, and I feel like whether it's after the social events or everything else, I feel like the conversations will carry, and we can kind of make future plans as to what topics or different aspects you could cover the next go round. So
I also
Even
noticed nobody has discrete machinery yet. If nobody takes that, I'd be happy to do that. My background for about 30 years is machine design. That's with the controls emphasis, but I'm also a mechanical designer and have worked for some pretty big custom machine builders. So some people may be interested in exactly how those machines are laid out, how applications works, how the machines are quoted, and of course the different types of discrete machinery. So as opposed to what Allie does, I come a lot more from the machine control direction with the machine vision and the all that kind of stuff that goes with that. So there, as somebody mentioned, a lot of topics here. So this is going to be a great opportunity for people to learn about a lot.
I have a story
for even those of us who we have a lot of experience with, let's say, PLCs, HMIs, even servos, but not robotics, not machine vision. I think it'll be a great learning experience for some of us, because that was me specifically. I've done a tiny bit of vision, a tiny bit of robotics, but I mean very, very tiny, like one of each. And it wasn't a new system, it was fixing an old one. But then VFDs, PLCs, like over 20 years of experience with those.
Yeah. Well, and that's the nice thing about the DCS topic of things too, is because that's kind of the overall architecture that you build up underneath that stack, right? And people might not necessarily always think about that, right? That's kind of like what Ali was talking about with you're logging in remotely to this facility, but you don't realize that you're on a hypervisor that's got 50, 60 VMs running on it, right? So kind of exposing the, I guess, under the hood of all these different systems is going to be really beneficial. So anyways, Allie, you had a story. What's your story?
So my story is about machinery, because Frank was talking about designing machinery. And so I switched to when I took a job to be kind of like the head of a panel shop, a UL panel shop, because they weren't a UL panel shop at the time, but they were making aerosol machinery. And so this is the moment for me where I was like, I think we all have this moment, but like we think that like something is just so much more complicated than it really is in real life. And then you realize how simple it is, and you're like, oh my God, it almost like hurt a little bit because of how much easier it was than I thought it would be. But like I came up against, I'm like, okay, so I've got 13 machines, right? And I'm like, how am I going to get all 13 of these machines to talk to each other at the same time and like, get all of this like data, like talking. And then I realized that like every single one of these just has like a photo eye in the front and the back to tell it like when there's too many cans, so literally when to start and stop, and it never talks to any of the other machines. And I'm like, no, because I was just expecting all of this, like, I don't know, my mind was just in this like super complex world, and like I realized that like I could make 13 machines talk to each other, and that none of them were actually talking to each other at all. And it was just so much simpler. And so I kind of just like it was just one of those moments where I'm like, oh, like almost bummed, but like, yeah, so we're like, I lost.
Oh, did lose your volume?
I think we lost your audio there, Allie.
Mhm. It's always raining there, so
Ah, that could be. I didn't
Exposed
see any-
fiber optics. I blame it on that.
There you go.
hey,
You're
you
back.
came back.
Hey, there you're back.
Oh, what happened?
You
Oh,
were
you
you were
lost
gone
you.
for like 2 minutes.
Oh no.
No, not actually.
That's
2
right.
minutes.
The story was getting boring anyway.
So yeah. Anyway, it wasn't that difficult. But do you guys not have stories like that? You guys always like estimated your work, like
Yeah,
I think it's neat
go ahead.
how huge plants, you have like Delta V DCS controlling thousands of points, tens of thousands of horsepowers, and million of or a billion gallons a day of different products and stuff. But then you go work on a wrapper for a textile mill, and it's like the continuous process is easier.
interesting.
Yeah,
And
and you
there's
know
the
what?
art of film control, which is a whole separate thing. The packaging industry, there's a lot of product knowledge required in addition to
Mhm.
process knowledge. Yeah.
Oh yeah, your different tension and yeah. I learned a lot, and then I moved back to Texas. I'm like, I'm going back to oil and gas, but I have this whole extra skill set of that stuff, which it's really neat, and but it's totally different.
Yeah.
But
And you come across some of these, I guess, like you're talking, these DCS systems with thousands of points and different areas of control embedded within a system, right? And there's some clients that want direct access to that control, and almost sometimes that's harder to negotiate and control because they're like, hey, I want to start a pump. No, and it's like, oh, I want to turn this valve on when this pump turns on myself. But like you said, with those continuous processes and sequencing, it almost becomes easier sometimes because you program it to a narrative, you spec it out to design, and it always just runs the way it's supposed to run, right? And I feel like the human aspect side of things is a lot more difficult than the automation some of the times because
Definitely.
every person has a different thought process than the person who designed it, right? And it's always kind of appeasing all those audiences that becomes the more difficult piece of this. And I feel sometimes the most simple of control schemes can become the most complicated just because of the human error factor, let's say. So
they can become the most complicated and the most dangerous because you can make them overly simple and say an HOA switch for a pump.
Yeah.
Well, we want hands to be just that. Don't run it through any controls. I'm like, okay, you know how dangerous that is. You want me to bypass all the safeties?
yeah.
Like,
Well,
okay, let me
I've
get
had
that in writing.
Yeah.
Because then you go block crap in and you put your pumps in hand and you're running over 1,600 pounds on a line that's rated for 1440.
Yeah.
It's not my fault.
Yeah. Well, I've had lots of electricians be like, oh, when it runs in hand, I want it to bypass all the interlocks and safeties.
Yeah.
It's like, no, it doesn't work that way.
It shouldn't work
It
that
shouldn't
way.
work that way. Yeah,
Sometimes
because
it does.
obviously you cannot run it for a reason, and there's no maintenance personnel on site trying to fix it. You're just trying to run it so that you can go to sleep because you got a call out in the middle of the night. So yeah, no, it's yeah, could probably go on for years and years of different stories and complications that you kind of run across. I feel like kind of like that discrete machine control and mechatronics side of things. Before working for a previous integrator that I was at, I used to think that the mechatronics and machine control was this big black box, and you needed certain engineering degrees or certain qualifications to work on this machine. But I think the biggest part was just, for example, is on underground mining equipment, that you just have to spend the time hands-on with that equipment, running it, touching it, feeling it, right? To gain that, I guess, hands-on feedback so that you can apply the automation aspect, the digital aspect of things, right? So
now, Brandon, are you in Canada?
Yeah, you betcha.
So one of the things, you betcha.
I get it all the time. It's a habit.
Bob's your uncle, eh?
Yeah.
So one of the things that I've heard is that there is a controls certification up there of some kind that is required for certain types of work in certain types of plants. What do you know about that?
Yeah, so I guess the control space is a little bit, I guess it's pretty vast here. Like, actually, believe it or not, most people that kind of transition into the control space are either instrumentation technologists or EETs, like, or EITs, I guess. Not everybody's necessarily got their engineering degree, right? So, I mean, there's certain applications where companies may want you to integrate an SIS, and you need your TUV, and you need to be a professional engineer and all this other stuff, right? But that's kind of when you lean on different partners in the network to kind of cover those items that you need, right? Especially like the safety systems and certifications, right? Like that's a whole other industry on its own. So you may just partner up with somebody who's a safety engineering company. But as far as like kind of going back to your question, as far as controls, certifications, I wouldn't say that there's any strict guidelines on it. I mean, there's automation engineers, there's instrumentation technologists, there's electricians that transition in automation. And I feel like it's pretty agnostic in how it handles different, I guess, people's professions within the industry, which is nice because it's not completely closed off for, let's say, only somebody who has one specific certification, right? I started off in instrumentation technology. That's my background. And I pretty much worked all the way from the field, doing E&I work, electrical instrumentation full-time, all the way to clacking keys on a keyboard, right? So it just, I guess it kind of depends on the individual courses that you want to take, professional development, self-development, right? To kind of get you to that spot where you can obtain employment somewhere where you could have that one-on-one training, or I guess exposure to the equipment, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah, but anyways, not necessarily one specific requirement, just kind of if you fall under that instrumentation, electrical, computer science, electrical engineering, process engineering, chemical engineering, you name it. Like there's one from each basket that I've worked with over the years. So
yeah, you'd mentioned that the surprise at finding that nothing was really required. When I started my first company, I'd go into these plants, and I do have an engineering degree, but I didn't have any kind of certification to build machinery for them. And there was really no certification on their end either, especially back. So I kind of, this will tell a little bit of my age, but I come from the single channel e-stop days. Right, where you didn't have these dual channel things. There was no real safety requirements other than when you hit that e-stop, it better shut down the entire machine. But there was no backups, there was no redundancy, nothing like that. And yet they'd let you build a $500,000 machine and put it in their plant. And it, unless anybody got hurt, nobody was ever the wiser that it was just a small company putting this together with really there was no PE required. There was no, engineering degree required, nothing like that. And then the only other certifications we have here, people have probably heard of ISA certification. Yeah. Early on, I found out ISA started, I go back to the tabletop show days. They'd have industrial shows they'd show all their stuff on a tabletop, and they were a media company. They were
Yeah.
not a certification organization. Their certifications really didn't carry any weight. And now it's kind of migrated a little bit. People are looking for that, some kind of an ISA or certificate of some kind. And of course, I give out PLC certificates all the time, and they're about worth the paper they're printed on, right?
Yeah.
I don't know whether you learned what I presented in the class or not.
Yeah. Yeah, like there's the certified automation professional certificate with ISA, which I feel like it's still one of the things on my list to do. There's also stuff like there's different, I guess, designations, like there's CTech, there's a CET, which is certified electrical technologist, there's like a PTech, which is like a process technologist, and there's all these other, I guess, individual certificates that lie underneath these professional organizations like a PEGA and Assets, just to name a few in Canada, right? And I think that out of anywhere that I've worked in North America and the rest of the world, I feel Canada kind of has some of the strictest guidelines as for certifications in engineering for like design spec. I say that there's no real, I guess, qualifications to be an automation professional in Canada, but there's definitely in the design aspects of machines and facilities and manufacturing plants, all the people that are doing the design are professional engineers or have the technical designation of, like I said, the CET, CTech, that have the sign off and authority to, I guess, issue those things for implementation, right? And then there's other topics like CSA, right?
Yep.
And UL certificates on most panels and everything that kind of goes out here, right? You're not putting out a panel in the field unless it's CSA certified by the panel shop and vendor, right? And I mean, there's some circumstances where the client and end user doesn't require it, but pretty much every engineering firm that designs a facility now, that they make that a requirement. So most of these outfits are going out and getting the certification so that they can free issue all their products that they develop and design in-house.
Yeah, I noticed they made me buy CSA boots, steel-toed boots when I went up there, even though I brought my own steel-toed boots. But they said, no, these have to be CSA labeled boots.
Not American safety. That's bullshit.
That's right. So, Nikki, I noticed you've showed up. Is there anything you want to say about OT SCADA CON and how all this stuff came about? Allie's kind of filled us in, but tell us all about it.
I just follow Allie's lead. I live in Houston, so I figure I need to have a hand in this if it's going to happen. I think everybody here knows me, but I guess if you're watching, and I can't tell exactly who is on, but I really care a lot about community and partnerships, and I enjoy meeting new people and figuring out how we can help them or vice versa. Throughout my career, so I used to work for some of the vendors in factory automation. I started in machine vision, barcoding, laser marking, and then going into handling systems. I worked for Festo, and I primarily was a components sales engineer, although I would help people with their bills of materials. And I came into Festo knowing nothing about pneumatics. And I learned from one of the longest standing applications engineers in the industry that had worked decades for SMC and then decades for Festo. And I was really lucky to get a good, 2 years of his instruction so that I could, without any prior training, except for his very expert guidance, help customers, design a pneumatic circuit for some particular thing that they were trying to do. Generally, I would only be working on smaller things, or like improvements to existing machines or adding something. If it was a bigger build, so Festo actually had has a customer solutions center where they do integration. We had a UL certified panel shop in our facility in Livermore, and I actually did, work with our team to do one subassembly for some sort of electroplating or chemical application for semiconductor parts. But I also lost an application where we quoted a machine which Festo, they're a German company. They're fairly large. They have a lot of internal processes, and they really need to design it down to a T so they can quote it properly. And, they simulate and they show all this stuff. And I lost that particular machine to a guy in his garage that used SMC components. And, we took a totally different way in designing the handling process. It was for thin film solar cells and, handling these. And he had, a pneumatic turntable, kind of an indexing station, and, SMC components. And I'm pretty sure that low overhead due to him being in his garage, a single sort of a one-man show. And at the time I thought, being at Festo and like, who would buy a machine from somebody like that? And I realized, he quoted the machine a lot faster. It was probably much cheaper. He might have been able to implement it faster, depending on if he had maybe less backlog than the Festo team. So I just, over the years of my career, I've realized that I don't know anything. And it's really fun every time I interact with someone new to get to broaden my horizons. And just getting people together to do that. I've found a way to do that here and there with the podcast, with this. And I really love to see what comes out of that. People broadening their career, getting more opportunities, being able to say yes to more opportunities because they now know the right resources. And then if they have to say no to an opportunity, to be able to pass their customer to the right place or give them the suggestion of what they actually need. That sort of stuff makes me really happy. So I think that's why I'm here. And before we had all these wonderful speakers like you, Frank, I was happy and willing to speak on any topic that didn't have a speaker, either from my experience or from lots and lots of people that I talk to. I like to pick up, nuggets of this here and there. My husband's friends used to call me Wikipedia because I kind of pick up on lots of these facts and can recite them at any given time.
Like,
yeah, I love throwing events.
I
haven't planned a big event since my wedding about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And I happen to be in San Francisco today. I haven't been here in a while. I used to live here or in the East Bay. But I actually went over to, pretty much where I got married yesterday, 10 years ago, almost in August. And I'm looking forward to planning and executing OT SCADA CON similarly as I did to my own wedding 10 years ago, which I managed to do under 10 grand. In San Francisco, in the Presidio, and then in Sausalito. So I kind of have a knack to try to do a lot with a little also. So
I think a cup of coffee in Sausalito is about 10 grand, isn't it?
I know, right? So I think that's kind of, I'm really, really looking forward to just absorbing like a sponge everything that you guys have to say. The fact that it's short, sessions on each topic really makes me think, just like Josh's actual training, although, some of them were in the weed stuff. With his training, I kind of tuned out because it was, a 2-day in-depth on a topic. But for someone like me, a short session with some tips and tricks and, places to go for references or remembering who to call later when that topic comes up for someone else that I know, that to me is a huge value to someone like me, being able to get a little bit deeper on some of these topics that I know less about.
Yeah, and we haven't even hit OT SCADA CON yet, and we're already passing on references and helping each other out and reaching out for opportunities between the group. And it's been
community.
Yes.
Right? So.
Yes, it is. And so that's about what I have to say about it. I'm looking forward to not having to fly anywhere. Keep telling my husband, I was like, I'll be home. It's going to be on Saturday because it's after midnight tonight. But I was like, then I won't be traveling again for a while because this is going to be, on my home turf.
Well, you just got to get over to Automation Fair after that, so you can take the kids and your husband to Orlando or to
LA. Actually,
LA.
that might be. I was trying to take them here, but timing and we ran into some issues with that, and tickets got expensive. But yeah, Automation Fair. Actually, that's not a bad idea because we'll be visiting Courtney's home turf.
Nice.
And
where is it this year?
It's in Anaheim.
Anaheim.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what.
Although I will be going to Chicago for IMTS again in September, so that's before before Automation Fair.
Yeah.
With these short sections, one thing I think we're going to have to do is use the timers in PowerPoint.
Yeah, we will.
Because I've done that before where and it just automatically goes to the next slide and I'm like, oh, I only got halfway through that, but you know, if
That's
you
actually a
have
really good
questions
idea.
later, yeah. So moving on, you know, and that is a must for anything of interest. You know, a boring presentation is fine where it's like, here's the presentation I have to give, and
Yeah.
I will read my own slide out loud because I don't care. And you're not getting any more information than that, the bare minimum. But this one, yeah, like I said, you're gonna have to set the timers because I have a bullet point on the slide or a screen full of bullet points, and I can talk for an hour on each one of them. So
Not only are
slide changed.
Yeah, not only are you guys passionate about what you do, but then I think everybody else in the room as well. And that makes it harder to keep it
I did
short.
say we were going to have a party harmonica, and I explained your book.
Oh, okay, cool.
And I was like, no one,
the
yeah, no one can
ability
get
to cut
offended,
you
but
off
like, we're going to cut you off. Yeah.
with a very nice sound instead of like an air horn. I will say as well. Look, I moderate events. I speak, I host, that sort of stuff. I moderated a panel discussion yesterday on connected supply chains. And it was I got the questions ahead of time. The speakers prepared their answers ahead of time. All I did was kind of order it in a discussion that I thought made a little bit of sense. And it was an incredibly boring hour of rehearsed answers to questions. As much as no, there was value in there, and those speakers were wonderful, and they have expertise. Just the format and kind of that, you know, there were again a lot of very large buzzwords, and you know, I had to follow up with some of the pre-planned questions and answers with surprise questions like, well, how the heck would you even do that? Or do you mean I would just call someone? And then, you know, because these very large industry topics like, oh yeah, just connect all of your assets with IoT devices. And I'm like, well, that's a really broad statement that I've heard since the last 15 years. Like, can you give me a little more meat on the bone on that one? And I have a feeling that OT SCADA CON is going to be the exact opposite of that, right?
Well, we're coming toward the end of the hour. I know at least Brandon is going to have to cut out here pretty soon, right?
Yeah, got track and field with the kids today, so gotta make sure we're in town here by 9:15. So,
any other last minute comments on this? July 25th, 26th. How many? We've still got spots left, right? You can sign up here at the event create. You can hit us up on LinkedIn, right? Hit anybody up on LinkedIn, or go to the OT SCADA CON page on LinkedIn.
You can also stream it too. You don't have to like show up if you can't show up. You can purchase a way to watch it.
Yeah, I've seen a couple comments where people have done that, purchased some streaming tickets. So by all means, hit the either LinkedIn or the Event Create site. Any other sites, Automation Ladies site, right? You can get to it from there.
Yeah, automationladies.io/OT SCADA CON. It'll redirect over to this Event Create page. We have added, or I didn't add it to the site, but I'm planning on adding FAQs. We'll send out an email with a couple of recommended hotels if you go ahead and get your ticket. We can also recommend, some people are getting Airbnbs if you know somebody else that's going. I live, like I said, fairly local, so any questions, tips, you know, things like that, I can answer directly. If you get your ticket, you'll be able to email us. Yeah, so.
And for some of those who are thinking of attending, you know, maybe having a shared Airbnb from with different people from different fields, that might be another networking opportunity for people. So
Totally.
Absolutely. So if anybody wants help coordinating, I can collect, like if there are multiple people open to an Airbnb but don't have someone to share with, we can try to facilitate that. Because I think, honestly, coming to something like this, you want to try to make the most of it, both from what you learn and then who you meet. And getting to know people's backstories a little bit more, it makes it a whole lot easier to call them up 3 months later for help on a project or something. because you're not just calling a name on a business card. You can talk to people totally differently, I think, when you know them a little bit more personally.
100%.
So I definitely recommend that. We also talked a little bit about drinks in the chat earlier. There will be after hours activities with alcohol, but there will also be plenty of us that will be having all the fun and none of the alcohol. So don't be afraid of this being something that, unless you absolutely don't want to be around it, then maybe skip the after hours activities, because there will be some people partaking. But especially also during our happy hour, I'm putting just as much emphasis on the mocktails as I am on the cocktails. So we should all be able to have a good time in a healthy fashion and, be able to be awake the next day and absorb this information.
You can chug club sodas. There's nothing wrong with chugging club soda.
Yeah, we'll have lots of refreshing non-alcoholic drinks.
You drink too much club soda, doesn't it like decrease your bone density if you drink too much water?
It tastes
Compared
nasty.
to drinking too much whiskey, I'll take my chances.
All right. Well, that about wraps it up for this hour. And the next webinar, again, I've been doing these about once a month. So the next one is scheduled for June the 28th. And I've had a request to go old school. And we're going to do Siemens statement list, which is still around.
Wow.
Believe it or not, even though instruction list, instruction list has been deprecated by the IEC. They no longer say that as a recommended way to program PLCs. But for all of you who are German, and live by STL, what can I say? I'm sure you'll still be keeping it alive for a while. And I will be probably using TI Portal to do a lot of it, even though actually I'm using a 1200, and the 1200 does not have statement list, for those of you who did not know. So that's going to require a 1500. I may have to do it on a simulator or go back to old Step 7 Manager. In any case, that is it for us. Thanks everybody for hanging out, and this will be on YouTube. And I think you can find me by finding Automation Consulting on YouTube or typing in this name. I never know whether this goes to music stuff or Automation Consulting 3994, I believe is the actual technical name. But in any case, check out automationllc.com. Check out Automation Ladies. We've got a couple of them on here, and they do some really great podcasts and webinars and things like that also. But we'll see everyone later then.
See ya.
Thank
Thanks.
you, Frank.
Thank you.
You guys.